The recall efforts continue against several state senators. Green Bay Democrat Dave Hansen now has two people vying for his seat. Republican State Representative John Nygren of Marinette entered the race yesterday. Mary Scray, the co-chair of the Brown County Board, announced last month she planned to challenge Hansen. If the recall election moves forward, Scray and Nygren would first have to meet in a primary. 6 Republicans and 3 Democrats are being targeted for recalls because of the way they handled the debate over the collective bargaining law. That includes Republican Robert Coles of Alloway. Former Brown County Supervisor Rich Langen is expected to announce today that he'll challenge Coles for his seat if there is an election. Jessica King, an Oshkosh City Council member, says she plans to run against Republican Randy Hopper of Fond du Lac. State Representative Fred Clark says he would challenge Ripon Republican Luther Olson. And Kim Simak, who led the recall effort against Democrat Jim Halpern, has said she would run. Now that money is flowing because of all these unprecedented recall efforts. Fox 11's Robert Hornacek is on special assignment, and tonight at 9 he'll examine the big money recall, and he joins us now with a preview about what he found, and it is astounding, the money that is being
It's very interesting, Rachel.
involved in this.
Normally there are very strict limits on political fundraising, but when there's a recall, those limits literally go out the window. Now this, I brought a little show and tell here.
Okay.
I know you like that in the morning. These are just some of the financial reports for the candidates that I looked through, and I literally spent hours looking at all of the reports filed by the senators targeted by the recalls, and we found some very, very large donations to the candidates. In fact, one donor gave $20,000 to one senator. That's 20 times the normal limit. Another candidate received a $15,000 donation from an individual, but because it's a recall, it's all perfectly legal. That's because recalls trigger a little-known law put on the books in 1987 that some describe as one of the largest loopholes in the state's campaign finance system. Now, here's how it works. Once a recall effort begins and they start collecting signatures, all the way up until an election date is set by the Government Accountability Board, there are no limits on the amount of money candidates can receive from individuals, special interest groups, and political parties. Of course, the big question in all this is how that money translates to influence.
There are going to be ungodly sums of money poured into these recall elections, and I don't know how that does anything but leave us with a Senate that is even more beholden, up past its eyeballs in special interest money.
Now tonight on Fox 11 News at 9, we're going to take an in-depth look at the law. We're also going to, more importantly, look at the state senators being targeted, how much money they're raising, how they're using this law to their advantage, and we're also going to speak with some of them and talk about how they defend it.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised by the numbers. Some of the numbers you threw out there, how much money are we talking about?
Well, those were some of the individual donations, $15,000, $20,000, but in all, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, the most prolific fundraiser so far has raised over $400,000 in just the last few months. Most of it from these big money donations.
And are there any restrictions on what they can do with that money?
Yes, there actually are quite a few restrictions that has to be spent on recall expenses. The way they term it is it has to be spent on legal fees and other expenses associated with the recall. That begs the question, what are those expenses? Well, it covers obviously lawyers, things like political consultants, and it also covers a lot of the political advertising we're seeing in places like Fox 11.
And who's shelling out the money?
Well, that depends on which side you're on. On the Republican side, there's really two trends that we noticed. One is a big money from individuals, big, a lot of those $15,000, $20,000 donations from individuals. And then we're also seeing one state senator who's kind of transferred money or sent money from his campaign committee to his colleagues to the tune of $16,000 apiece. So that's on the Republican side. On the Democratic side, we're seeing big donations from labor unions and big donations from the state party. In fact, the state Democratic Party gave the largest donations we saw. One candidate got $50,000 and another got $60,000 just to work on the recall expenses.
Wow, I do like it when you bring show and tell to Good Day Wisconsin. You really spend a lot of time crunching those numbers for us. So Robert Hornacek, again, he's on special assignment, and you'll find the complete report tonight at 9. If you want more information throughout the day, go to fox11online.com to check out a special interactive database of the senators' campaign finance reports, plus a look at how much money their opposition has raised, and you'll find that story right on the home page.